Hello, everybody. This is Sarah. Let me hit record. Hello, everybody. This is Sarah, and I'm here with my new problem solved shirts. If you've been following my journey, I've got a lot of hair. If you've been following my journey on the problem solved book, then you know I have a new t-shirt, not like for every day, but I got a few because I am so excited about these concepts. I'm so excited about making people's lives easier and making people's lives better. And so today's conversation is all about burnout. And here is some statistics around burnout. Okay. So we make 35,000 decisions a day. 77% of people say that they are in burnout. 84 have experienced burnout. 84% of millennials has said they experienced burnout. We had the Great Resignation. Now people are kind of regretting leaving their jobs and that kind of thing. And we went through like the whole world through this like grieving process and all these crazy decision-making processes during COVID, right? So here's where we are as we talk about this. I also want to point out a very important statistic in regards to burnout, which is some statistics around complaining. Okay. So according to the Harvard, I read this in a Harvard Business Review article. It wasn't their study, but it was an article that they put out. There are people complain about their bosses for 10 to 20 hours a month at work. Okay. So people at work are complaining about their bosses 10 to 20 hours a month per work. I think 30% of employees are complaining more than 20 hours a month. Okay. That is a huge loss of productivity. And when I was doing a training for a local business, I was doing my slide deck and that kind of thing. And I said, complaining shrinks your brain, which is true, according to Stanford. Complaining shrinks your brain. And my husband walks behind me because he knew what I was making the slide deck for. And he said, complaining shrinks your profits. And I was like, yeah, that's true. And that can be on a business level, like your profits in your business level, but it could be your personal profits, right? Think if you took that 10 or 20 hours a month and started a side hustle, or you took that 10 to 20 hours a month and focused on promotion. You took 10 to 20 hours a month and became even more an expert in your field so that you stood out and you were up for the next race, right? Do you see what's happening here? So those are all some terribly interesting statistics around burnout. But here I want to bring you back to why so many people are stuck in the wobble. And my daughter and I went on a cruise. I didn't know that Carnival was like the party cruise, apparently. I had not gone on a cruise in 10 years. And it was kind of funny because we came back from the cruise and we'd been like dancing the whole time. And one of the songs that we were dancing to was like just around the pool and stuff. I'm not taking my daughter to the club, that's for sure. But, just around the pool and that kind of thing. There was dancing literally everywhere. It was like a little girl's dream. I would never take a teenager, but it was a little girl's dream and it was fun and PG rated. Okay, so one of the songs, it was like, wobble, baby, wobble, baby, wobble, baby, wobble, wobble, baby, wobble, baby, wobble, baby, wobble, which I have no idea what that song means, but I know in my work, how many people are spending their energy in indecision. Wobble, baby, wobble, baby, wobble, baby, wobble, wobble, baby, right? And they're doing the wobble. Okay. And I'm being silly and ridiculous to make a point. But I see so many people's brain in the wobble. And should I do this? Should I do that? Maybe I should make this decision. Maybe I should make that decision. Is this person going to be mad at me if I do this? And, what's this going to cost me? And they often are in the wobble because they look for a solution that doesn't have any consequences. And I want to say that out loud, and I want you to hear how insane it is. I will make a decision when there are no consequences to my decision. I'll be happy to make a decision when it won't cost me any money, when it won't cost me any time, when it isn't scary, when no one's going to be upset about it, when I already know the future and I can plan out for the future the entire time. Like, do you hear how like nutty that is? Like, I'll make a decision when all these things line up. And since we know those things aren't going to line up, we wobble, baby, wobble, baby, wobble, baby, wobble. Okay. And next time you're in your head, should I this? Should I that? Should I this? Should I that? I want you to imagine. You can even do a little pattern interrupt and you do your own little wobble. Okay. And the reality is it's really leading to burnout. You may be someone who is a fabulous decision maker and feels really confident in the area, and you may feel like you're being burned out because you're surrounded by people who aren't as decisive or don't have a system or strategy for making decisions. And excuse me. Or you're the person in the wobble. Okay. Either way, there's a lot of energy being burned up that isn't being productive. Okay. What would transform in our work settings if the 10 to 20 hours a month could be spent on restorative mental health practices that actually made better employees rather than complaining about bosses? Right? What would that do for burnout? What would that do for morale? What would that do for retention? What would that do for productivity? Okay. Complaining shrinks your brain, according to Stanford. It is not good to listen to complaining for even 30 minutes a day, or for you to complain 30 minutes a day. And I promise before the video, unless you've read my book or heard me speak on this, you probably were not making a connection between burnout and burnout and complaining. And you may not have been making connection between burnout and decision making, right? Because what we think is we need to work less or there's information overload, right? And I can honestly say the biggest thing people say about me is like, why do you either work so much, or why do you ever slow down, or you're always busy? But I'm really not. I'm really not. Like, I am there with my kids and present, and I'm like getting like 9 hours of sleep a night or something just ridiculous. And I do yoga and I call my friends and I show up for their birthdays and right. I mean, I promise, I'm not just burning the candle at both ends. I know it looks like it because of what I'm able to produce. And I'm not like bragging about me. When I was in high school, I had to learn how to figure out how to practice piano for 2 hours a day. And so my whole life, 6 years old to 22 or whatever, when college was over, I still had nightmares. I wake up thinking, oh, I forgot to practice piano. I forgot to practice piano. And it's like, Sarah, you don't have to practice piano anymore. But for all those years, I was figuring out in my schedule how to fit in that time to practice piano. And unlike baseball or softball or swim practice, where you have a scheduled time that you have to go to practice, I didn't have a scheduled time. So I just had to figure it out. And that's kind of like, I know in a weird way, some of the beauty behind this book is that it's like the ultimate time management technique, because I want you out of the wobble. Should I practice piano now? Should I practice piano later? Should I talk to my boss about practicing piano? Should I talk to my kids about practicing piano? Should I this about piano? What piano should I have? Should I be right? Like, I didn't have time for that. Okay. I had to figure out how to get it done. And so it's created these pathways in my brain that I didn't realize no one else was living or thinking, that these pathways in my brain of like, how do I fit in all the boxes? And so I didn't have time for the wobble. And so I just didn't have the wobble as much as other people. Now, there were certain times in my life and certain decisions I was making that the wobble nearly killed me from stress. It was just terrible. But I've lived without the wobble. I've lived with the wobble. And now I'm living without the wobble for the most part again. Okay. Life is better without the wobble. Life is better. Complaining shrinks your brain. So when you are burned out or stressed out and you think, okay, I'm just going to vent, and you think it's helping burnout, it's actually talking about the problem and focusing in on the problem rather than focusing in on the solution, right? Now, if you're talking to a friend about solutions and you're talking to a coworker about solutions, that's not complaining. What complaining looks like is, oh, I can't believe this happened to me, and this is outside of my control, and I'm frustrated with this. It's also outside of my control, and there are some things within my control, but I'm really not going to think about this because they're really scary. So I'm going to think about the things outside my control. And I hope I don't sound like I'm not compassionate about it. I'm very compassionate about it. And I want to say out loud what's happening that people don't realize is happening. I want to point out the wobble. I want to point out how much time is spent thinking this person should solve this problem and this person should solve this problem. And I'm not going to think about my problems because I don't want to. And you do that for a day and a week and a year. And you have a big, huge pile of problems and you feel burned out and you're stressed out and you want life to be different and you don't know how to make it different. And you kind of got in learned helplessness, or you just love someone like that, right? You're like, man, they should do this and they should do this and I should do this, right? And then you're either working with someone like that or you live with someone like that. And you're just like, why can't they make a decision? Well, decision making is not taught in schools. So first off, I want everybody to forgive everyone else for this process, right? Decision making is not taught in schools. Our parents, some parents taught decision making skills, some didn't. A lot of the culture of the time people, me and older, grew up was kind of, well, you do it because I'm the parent, that's why. Okay, that's how kind of most of me and my friends and the people that I've talked to grew up, okay? Even if you had a parent who did walk you through a decision-making process, they did not have the internet, okay? Let's think about the way the internet changes how we make decisions, who we ask for help, right? You're not going to the local encyclopedia to look up something. You're asking your phone, right? That changes how we make decisions, right? And then there's a lot of bad information out there. So we get in decision-making fatigue, we get in overthinking, they used to call it worry. I really want to, excuse me, talked a ton with this book launch. It's really interesting to me, the term overthinking, because we used to call it worry and it was like a bad idea to worry. But now we call it overthinking and like we convince ourselves that we're like smart. And I was like the queen of the overthinkers, right? Like literally the worst overthinker. My master's degree has a lot of research attached to it, right? And so it's just like, I'll research this and I'll read this book and I'll research this and then I'll look up this and this great resource and blah, 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 right? And that overthinking. But guys, the world is burned out. When our parents taught us to make decisions, we didn't have 500 gazillion pieces of information floating around our heads. I read somewhere that the entire of a very intelligent person, I think it was like 300 years ago, okay, that basically we took in more information in one day than someone 300 years ago would have taken in their entire life. Think about that. They grew up in the same place. They knew the same people. You know, they didn't know celebrities. They didn't take take from movies. They didn't have to figure out how to upload things. You know, it was like work in the farm or work in the family business. So even that, it was like saying, even if those people read books and stuff, it was just, we had that much more information coming at our heads. And when we have too much information, we wobble, baby, wobble, baby, wobble, baby, wobble, wobble, baby, wobble. And then we think, okay, I have an information problem. I have an information problem, right? So I need to find more information. I need to find the next thing. And guys, I was the worst at this. So I understand if you're stuck in it. And I've lived with the wobble, I've lived with the wobble, and I've lived without the wobble again. And a whole process of problem solving that people are really missing is the wobble, is losing time in complaining, is losing time solving problems that do not have solutions. One of the things I learned from a fabulous book, I talk about it in my new book, Problem Solved: Simple Habits for Complex Decisions. You see my t-shirt? Problem solved. This is my daughter's favorite. I'll do a little post and see which, t-shirt you guys like the best. But within the process of researching this book, I read another book called Design Your Life. Great book. And they talked about something called gravity problems. And they were talking about gravity problems in regards to career. So let's imagine you work at a family business and you want to become vice president at a family business where you are not related to them. And the authors of this book were saying, that can be your goal, but it's probably a very frustrating goal because that's a gravity problem. Okay. Just like if we're trying to go outside and jump until we get to the moon, we're probably going to be frustrated. No matter how hard we jump, how much energy we expend, we're not getting to the moon. And just like the same thing, it's the burnout, spending energy, but not going anywhere. Spending energy, but not getting an outcome. Spending energy, but not getting a goal. This is like the rose-colored glasses that I would either want to take on or take off or whatever. It's kind of one of those things. It's like once you see it, you can't unsee it. And it is a beautiful, beautiful thing because I see so many people tired and burned out and in decision-making fatigue and thinking they need one more piece of information and just a little more research. And then maybe I'll take one mental health day and they're crashed out and they're like watching Netflix. They do a bubble bath or go play golf. And then the next day they go back to work and they're better for like a second. But their brain isn't doing them any favors. Their brain is solving problems that don't have solutions, or their brains are wasting time on the wrong problems. Or their brains are wasting time in the wobble. Or they're working with people who are in the wobble. Or they're living with people who are in the wobble, right? And it's so hard to see because I see people trying. It's not this idea that people are lazy. I mean, some people are lazy. Obviously, some people are mean, some people are nice, some people are selfish, some people are not selfish, some people need to be more selfish, right? There's all kinds of people, right? I'm obviously not saying no one's lazy because that's silly. But I see a lot of people working and not getting anywhere. They've not been taught a process for making decisions. They make 35,000 decisions a day. They are now making decisions within the world of the internet, which the parents did not prepare them for. They are taking in more information in one day than people 300 years ago took it up in an entire lifetime. And they're trying to make decisions based on that information. And then they're stuck in the wobble, or they're stuck in the, maybe I should this, maybe I should that. And then they don't know what to do. So they complain. And then complaining shrinks your brain. Do you see this cycle? Do you see the cycle of burnout? And do you see that like a mental health day can't fix that for you? Right? Take a bubble bath, go play golf, go play tennis, lay in bed with a book. I'm not saying you should never do that, obviously. But what problem are you trying to solve? It's the magic question within my new book, Problem Solved. It's always the question I ask, what problem are you trying to solve? And my guess is, it's funny, within the last half decade of work within high conflict relationships, I would say, okay, what problem are you trying to solve? They'd get on the phone with me, what problem are you trying to solve? And they'd say, I really want to become toxic person proof because they'd seen my work. They were like, love your stuff. I want to become toxic person proof. I was like, got it. What does that mean? I want to have boundaries. I want to stand up for myself. I want to have peace in my brain and peace in my life. I'm like, awesome. What's your strategy for getting there? And they say hiking. And I'm like, oh, well, is there any statistics that say that people who hike are less likely to end up in toxic relationships? And then they laugh and they say no. and they're nervous, and so they laugh, but like my heart's like, after years of this is why this book happened. This is what problem solved. This is how it birthed, because it was over and over and over. And I would say, what problem are you trying to solve? And they would give me the problem. And I'd say, what's the strategy for getting there? And they would give me their strategy, and the two were not connected at all. And then they would say, I'm burned out. I'm tired. I'm in the wobble. I have decision-making fatigue. I'm not getting the results I want in my life. I'm not making as much money as I can make. I'm not as present with my kids, right? Do you see what's happening? But there's a very direct line, which is good, because that means there's a solution. But I was talking about gravity problems. And so if your goal, if what problem you're trying to solve is to change the past, well, the past is a gravity problem. We're not changing the past. We're not. We could want to change the past over how COVID was handled. I know a lot of teachers right now, and parents too, are frustrated because, there were kids missed school all over the US. I know people are watching this, not just in the US. I know it happened other places too, but the kids in the US didn't go to school. Well, that's led to problems, right? Kids are behind, they're behind socially, there's mental health crisis with teens, right? So we can't change it. So I see a lot of people that would get stuck in the shoulds. Man, we shouldn't have changed. We shouldn't have closed schools, or we should have done this differently, or we should have this, we should have this. And that you see their energy, like, we should have done something different. We should have changed the past. Somebody else should have made this decision. And do you remember earlier when I was talking about the energy people expend on problems that are not theirs, or problems that are gravity problems? Whether or not your state closed down schooling or your county closed down schooling is a gravity problem. It already happened. It's over. If we'd been talking in the midst of that conversation, it might not be a gravity problem. Okay, there might be something we can do, but it's over. It's done. So you can either think, okay, I need to get my child tutoring to catch up, or I need to enroll them in a summer enrichment program, or I need to keep a closer eye on their homework, or I need to, like, those are problems that you can solve. Those are problems that have solutions. Those are what I call actionable problems. And at first, the new habit, right? I want to go back to complaining and venting. Okay, there's a reason people do it, because it makes them feel better right then. It makes them feel powerful. It makes them feel smart. Okay, so when I tell you, kind of the what do they call it, the couch coach, like no one's ever lost a game from their couch. I probably lost a game from the couch because I don't know anything about coaching sports, but piano lessons, I got you. But okay, so but people feel like smart. It's like, oh man, if I had been president, I would have done this. I'm not turning this into a political conversation, but this is what people do, right? If I was in charge of education, I would do this. If I was the principal, I would have done this. If I was the superintendent, I would have done this. They should have done this. They should have seen this coming. They should. Like, you just see a lot. I can feel in my body, like the change of energy that comes. This person should, same thing at work. My boss should have done this differently. Accounting should have handled this differently. Marketing should have handled this differently. The sales team should have done this. Okay. And do you see how much energy people are spending? I can't control this situation, so I'm going to put a lot of energy towards it. Things I can control, I'm not even going to think about, because I don't take action on them. Remember, I'm not blaming people. We're not thinking this on purpose, probably. We weren't taught a decision strategy in schools. Our parents didn't teach us how to make a decision. We have more information, right? It's all those things. But complaining shrinks your brain. You can argue with Stanford if you want. I don't plan to. I think they are smart people. And this is where you see burnout happening. A lot of energy being spent on either gravity problems that you can't do anything about, problems that are outside of your control, problems that other people should be handling, jobs that other people should be doing, 10 to 20 hours a month. Right? Do you see where it's costing you productivity? If you spent 5 of those hours talking about solutions and training your team and or yourself into solution-based thinking. I don't like to make like blanket statements, and I don't like to make statements like this is the truth. You should listen to me. I'm telling you the truth. Like I don't like it, but guys, I'm telling you the truth, right? It is only common sense. If people, you know, places like Stanford, Harvard, Cornell University did a whole thing on how much time we spent thinking about food. 219 decisions a day about food, right? 219 decisions a day about food. 300 years ago, they probably didn't have that many decisions to make about food. They didn't decide the low fat cookie or the full fat cookie. They didn't decide butter and margarine. They didn't decide a high fiber diet or a high protein, or they just didn't have those decisions to make a smoothie at home or stop by Smoothie King. They didn't have those decisions to make. 219 just about food. Wobble, baby, wobble, baby, wobble. Should I do this? Should I eat this? Should I this? Right? I mean, oh my gosh. And then it's just burnout. Okay. So again, don't like to make blanket promises, but this I will make. If you start focusing in on solutions and taking some of that time on the shoulds and this person should this and the gravity thinking, because you're probably doing it without realizing it. It's not your fault. No one's mad at you. I'm not mad at you. I'm mad at myself for doing all those years, right? But that process of making decisions we just weren't taught, right? So I promise, I promise, I promise. The less time you have in the wobble, the less time you have on trying to solve problems that aren't yours to solve, and turn your energy and your solutions into your own life, will be 1,000 times easier. And that's when my clients are getting 10, 20, 30, 40% raises, like corporate, like in healthcare and corporate. These are big raises. These are big promotions. They call me the success fairy. And I was talking to my husband about it, get a text like, oh, so-and-so got a raise. Oh, so-and-so she just got a promotion. He's like, what are you teaching these women? And I'm like, oh, I don't know. Maybe I should ask them, right? I mean, I did know what I was teaching them, but I was curious as to what feedback they were getting from their bosses. And they'll send me texts and they'll say, on an annual assessment, it said I was a problem solver, right? On my annual assessment, it talked about me being solution-based. And I'm like, woo, 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 right? Because it is not more work than what you're already doing. It's different work, but it's work that gets results. It's work that doesn't lead to burnout, because if you're like running into the same problems over and over again, spending time in the wobble and overthinking and decision-making fatigue, you are going to feel burned out. If you're on a team or surrounded or living with people who are doing the same thing and they're decision-making fatigue and they can't make a decision and they're not independent problem solvers, then you're going to be burned out, because it's just this like kind of I won't call it a rotten apple, because we weren't taught like decision-making skills in school or anything. I'm not putting more pressure on schools either. Please tell me. I'm really not. We're just in the information age now, right? We're just in the information age. It's not been that long. This is a new conversation, but the burnout numbers are scary. The rates in which people are changing jobs or leaving jobs, companies trying to retain people, trying to balance the conversation between well-being and productivity. I mean, contracts. And if every day you're having a mental health day, then the person beside you either doesn't get paid or they're taking up the slack, and it creates this angst in our society and angst in our workplaces and angst in our homes, that I want to offer a better solution and a new habit around decision making that I promise will help you beat burnout. So check out my book, Problem Solved: Simple Habits for Complex Decisions. It is out. It is a bestseller, top 10 bestseller in 4 or 5 categories now. Remember, New Thought, Business, and Humor, because I'm so funny, right? Wobble, baby, what? No. I did want it to be light, right? Because the first version, I had people like, Sarah, this sounds like a textbook. Thank you very much. I was like, because I'm talking about serious things. I'm talking about saving our economy and the saving the world and mental health. And I'm talking about serious things. They're like, yeah, we liked your first book. It was funny. And I'm like, got it. Funny on it. So it is funny now. And it's gone through several versions to get into your hands, but it is multiple bestseller, multiple categories, business, nation, personal success. I'm just giddy. I'm just giddy and I'm more giddy. The book tried to kill me. It was terrible to write it. Everything about it's been terrible, except for the messages I get and the results I'm getting, and people reading a chapter and going, oh my gosh, I thought I was solving this problem, but really I need to solve this problem. And oh my gosh, thank you. Now I know exactly what to say to my boss, or I know exactly what to say to my partner. I know exactly what to say to my kids. And I just am so compassionate and passionate about your life being easy, your work life, your personal life, and most importantly, what's going on between your two ears and creating those brain boundaries to prevent burnout. So I hope you check out, if you haven't already, I hope you check out Problem Solved: Simple Habits for Complex Decisions. It is absolutely things I talked about in this conversation, but with examples and problems broke down for you. So personal and professional problem with each concept broken down. So, and I surveyed hundreds and hundreds of people, like, what problems do you hear people complaining about? What problems do you hear people complain about? What, and then took those concepts, the top 25 problems, well, 25 problems in the appendix, then like multiple examples within the book, and then apply these concepts. So it's probably a problem you already have that I kind of do the work for you. So, because I do want your life to be easier, and so that you can spend more time in creativity and joy rather than spending the time in the wobble, baby, wobble, baby, wobble. I knew you knew I was going to go there. So, okay, have a great day. Check out Problem Solve: Simple Habits for Complex Decisions.